Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, a man whose name is synonymous with freedom, equality, and unity, a hero in the eyes of many, the great emancipator, who led the nation through its darkest hours. But what if I told you there's another side to this legend, a side of Lincoln that history often forgets to mention, a side that challenges the very ideals he's praised for, a side that might make you question the true cost of his presidency? History has been kind to Abraham Lincoln, and rightfully so, right? After all, he ended slavery, preserved the Union, and shaped the modern United States. But like any figure who stands tall in the pages of history, there's always another side to the story, a side that's more complicated, more controversial, and far less flattering. What if I told you that Lincoln, the man who is revered for his commitment to freedom, wasn't always the great emancipator we think of today? What if I told you that some of his decisions, some of his actions, leave a stain on his legacy, one that we rarely discuss? Abraham Lincoln, a leader who preached equality and freedom, was also a man who, at times, seemed willing to sacrifice those very principles to achieve his goals. Let's take a closer look at the parts of his story that are often glossed over, ignored, or forgotten. Let's start with Lincoln's early views on slavery. Before he became president, Lincoln wasn't an ardent abolitionist as many would later portray him. In fact, his position on slavery was more nuanced than many would like to admit. Lincoln believed that slavery was morally wrong, yes. But did he believe that all black people were equal to white people? The answer may surprise you. Lincoln's public statements before the Civil War were often filled with the language of white supremacy. And while he firmly opposed the expansion of slavery into new territories, he didn't initially seek to abolish it outright in the southern states. In fact, when the Civil War first began, Lincoln's primary goal wasn't the freedom of enslaved people, it was to preserve the Union, even if that meant allowing slavery to continue where it already existed. In his first inaugural address, Lincoln stated, "I have no purpose, directly or indirectly, to interfere with the institution of slavery in the states where it exists." These were not the words of an uncompromising abolitionist. They were the words of a politician trying to hold a fractured nation together. Lincoln's reluctance to act decisively against slavery early on is a reminder of how complex the politics of the time were. Now let's look at the Emancipation Proclamation. Yes, it's celebrated as a turning point in American history, but the truth is, it was less an act of moral righteousness and more a calculated war measure. Lincoln didn't free all enslaved people. The proclamation only applied to the southern states in rebellion against the Union, and even then, it had little immediate impact. It didn't free a single enslaved person in Union states or border states where slavery was still legal. It was a move to weaken the Confederacy, to disrupt its economy, and to gain a strategic advantage in the war. The proclamation was an essential step toward ending slavery, but it was also a reflection of Lincoln's political pragmatism. Let's talk about Lincoln, the wartime president. The same man who is hailed as a hero for holding the Union together is also the man who suspended civil liberties, shut down newspapers, and arrested political opponents without trial. In the name of saving the Union, Lincoln trampled on the very freedoms he claimed to protect. In 1861, he authorized the suspension of habeas corpus, the constitutional right to be informed of criminal charges. Thousands of suspected Confederate sympathizers and even political enemies were detained indefinitely. Lincoln's government imprisoned thousands of citizens, including prominent journalists and political leaders who opposed the war. It's a chilling reminder that even the most revered leaders can wield power in ways that contradict their high ideals. And then there's Lincoln's approach to Native Americans. While Lincoln is often portrayed as a savior for enslaved African Americans, his record with Native Americans is less admirable. During his presidency, he oversaw a period of brutal repression against Native tribes, especially during the Dakota War of 1862. In the aftermath of the conflict, Lincoln signed off on the largest mass execution in U.S. history. 39 Dakota men were hanged for their role in the rebellion, a stark contrast to Lincoln's image as a man of mercy. Though some accounts suggest Lincoln personally reviewed the death sentences to ensure that they were just, His decision to approve such a mass execution speaks to a darker side of his presidency. His government was responsible for the forced relocation of thousands of Native Americans, pushing them off their ancestral lands to make way for settlers, without regard for the devastating impact on their cultures and way of life. It's a story of contradictions, of progress and failure, of sacrifice and pragmatism. And that, perhaps, is the most important lesson we can learn from his life. History is not just about celebrating the best of us. It's about confronting the full truth of who we were and who we continue to be.